2022 Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Great to have you along. Just a gorgeous morning, a bit of a breeze to keep everybody kind of cool as we get this morning started. The sun coming down upon us, and we are blessed with a beautiful day for the Sandhills Open Road Challenge here in year 2022. Again, hi everybody, I'm Brent Apperson. Be joined shortly by Jeremy Scheib. We're live on KBBN 95.3 FM and KBBN.com. Also live with a video coverage of today's start from the Sandhills Open Road Challenge, and you'll be able to access that on the Sandhills Express Facebook page and the Sandhills Express YouTube channel. With that in mind, we want to start our broadcast like we do so many of our broadcasts, and that is simply by thanking the wonderful businesses who are making this coverage possible. We'll start with our radio sponsors: The Smoke Shack, First State Insurance, Reed's Food Center, Mills Hardware, Wenquist Incorporated, A1 Auto Repair, Shotgun Annie Saloon and Grill, BD in Broken Bow, Fixed Right Auto Body, Grazer's Bar and Grill, Trumbull Repair and Towing, Callaway District Hospital with the Arnold and Callaway Medical Clinics, John Farley at Lashley Land and Recreational Brokers, and Trotter Service, those the businesses bringing you radio coverage of the start of today's Sandhills Open Road Challenge. And we'll also have live radio coverage of the turnaround coming back from Dunning to Arnold. We'll have that for you on KBBN Radio throughout the day as well. As far as our video coverage today from the start of today's race, we want to say thanks to these sponsors, and they include Four County Boutique, Anderson Auto Tech, First State Insurance, Mills Hardware, A1 Auto Repair, Lyons Appliance, Nebraska State Bank, Trotter Service, BD in Broken Bow, Cobblestone Inn and Suites, Power Solutions, Broken Bow Legends Neighborhood Grill, Grazer's Bar and Grill in Arnold, J.R. Meyer Insurance in Callaway, the Callaway Market, Agribest Feeds of Callaway, CarQuest in Broken Bow. Also brought to you by Aero Aviation, Rod's Body and Paint, Muddy Creek Auto, and Myers Construction, all bringing you live video stream coverage of the start of today's Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Again, you'll be able to access it on the Sandhills Express Facebook page and on the Sandhills Express YouTube channel. Jeremy Scheib is here. We'll get him behind the mic here in a moment, and we'll get ready to broadcast coverage of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. It's all coming up, so keep it right here. We're back to Arnold after this 2-minute timeout.
We welcome you back to Arnold, Nebraska, site of the 2022 Sandhills Open Road Challenge. We're on day 3 of 3 of racing action, and we are getting ready to get started. We're going to begin with the 80-mile-an-hour class. Car number 63 is at the starting line. Thank you very much to all the sponsors that Brent mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. Thank you to all of you for tuning in and checking out the broadcast, whether you're on radio or video, or if you want to be on the other one, we'll continue to remind you about those different options available to you throughout the race. What a gorgeous morning. We got to mention the weather before we start, Brent. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous morning for some racing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the sun is out. Yeah, I don't know what else you can say other than it is beautiful, and what a great sight. You know, they played the Field of Dreams baseball game in Iowa a few days ago. When it comes to road racing, this is kind of our Field of Dreams, because as the cars come to the start line, you see the corn in the background. What a great event this has become.
Yes, and we're going to start with the 80-mile-an-hour class. Maria Schneider and Terry Schneider in a 1963 Chevy Corvette. I'm just guessing here, but I think this car has ran in the vintage class before, but now they're running in the 80-mile-an-hour class, which tends to be a little bit bigger, but they're going to have some competition to go up against. Had a sheet here I'll try to track down, maybe from results from last year. Is that what you've got there?
Yep,
cool.
I've got it, Jeremy. Yeah, Maria and Terry Schneider finished 5th overall in the 80-mile-an-hour class from a year ago. Their time was just 3 seconds, .093 off perfect. So
wow,
they'll see if they can improve upon that as they get ready to start us off here in 2022.
No matter where you're watching from, folks, and I know you could be watching from about anywhere or listening from anywhere, we've got drivers from Texas, Idaho, California, let's see, East Coast. There were a couple of East Coast states yesterday. So I know they've got family and friends that could potentially be watching from all over the country. Welcome to Arnold, Nebraska.
Well, as we get ready to get started, gives us an opportunity to, again, just mention the wonderful volunteers that work this Sandhills Open Road Challenge each and every year. As you mentioned, Jeremy, this really day 3 of competition. They had the loop-to-loop race on Thursday. We were there at the half-mile and 1-mile shootout yesterday. Now, of course, the race that started it all, the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. But in order to do any of these events, it takes great volunteerism, and you just won't find any better than here in Arnold, Nebraska and the surrounding communities.
Oh, you absolutely won't. When we were driving in, you know, Grant, this is his first Sandhills Open Road Challenge, and I said, Grant, you see all these cars parked in these driveways of these homes. Those drivers and their navigators, if they're from out of state, are staying in those homes. There's host families that bring these folks into their home each year, and that's what it's all about. They cook them meals, they have breakfast, and they discuss a little bit of racing and catch up. They see each other once a year, but they're the best of friends, and they'll tell you that every time.
Well, the community definitely swells when we get to this point of the summer. And, you know, when the people come in here, even though they're here for maybe just once a year, Jeremy, they become part of the community, and they become part of families, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. They come here each and every year and get hosted by people in the Arnold community and some of the surrounding areas. So when we go through the bios that these drivers send in, and we share some of that information with you as we call the race here coming up, that's why we read so many times the favorite part of SORC is just coming and being around the people of Arnold and the surrounding communities. And those words are very heartfelt. And that's why when, again, we go through these bios, we're going to be reading people that are here for their 18th year or all 22, 23 years. They've been here at every one, and that's because the kindness and everything that is shown when they come here each and every year just makes them want to continue to come back.
Well, and you know that that's special because look at these cars that they're driving. That's second to them, to the relationships and, you know, the relationships and the family type atmosphere that they build. These guys are driving, you know, sometimes 6-figure value cars down this track outside of Arnold, and that's not as important as it is the camaraderie that they feel. So worth mentioning, though, before we get started, if you are familiar with SORC races of the past, whether you've been here, watched, or listened, worth mentioning that the start line has moved a little bit this year. It's up a little bit further outside of town, and I know that a lot of work had to go into that. It's not just as simple as moving the start line 50 or 70 feet, that messes with the times, you know. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, Brad Wheelhouse, had the opportunity to meet him in person for the first time in a while, and he was talking about, well, a lot of people have notes, and we hone those notes each year on this track in order to get better times every single year that we go out there. So I got to think that this moving of the start line might affect things by as much as a quarter of a second, which matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we talk about people coming here and enjoying their time here in Arnold, Nebraska. They love to see old friends and renew acquaintances and everything. Let's not overlook the fact that this is a competition, and the people who are here to win. So, yeah, there will certainly be a lot of creativity going on inside the car as they are driving along. A lot of racing experience will come into play, and so yeah, it'll be fun to see how everything plays out here today.
Again, we're a little bit further away from the starting line than we normally are. Usually I can pull one of my ear microphone off and hear what they're conveying over the radio, but don't have that luxury this time. We're a little bit farther away. But cone is still out in front of the car number 63, which will start the Sandhills Open Road Challenge 2022. And at any moment, they could move that cone. What we've learned in the past is that cone could be there, and then you look away for a second, and then it's gone. So we'll just kind of keep it here and get you folks ready for the race, because we'll be off and cooking here shortly. The vintage class will follow the 80-mile-an-hour class. I'm seeing here a good showing in the vintage class this year. It looks like we're going to have 6 vehicles in the vintage 85 class, so that's pretty cool. That'll come up after this 80-mile-an-hour class.
Well, they're pointing to car number 63, who will start us off in this 80-mile-an-hour class, and it looks as though they're getting ready to pull the cone away, and I have a feeling we're not too far away from the start of racing. We do want to remind you of our coverage today. Of course, we're live on the radio now, KBBN 95.3 FM and KBBN.com. Want to remind you that our radio coverage will continue through the day. Our friends Dave and Joan Burney on the other end over in the Dunning area, and they will pick up coverage on the radio and give you coverage as the drivers make their return trip back to Arnold. Again, there are 2 legs of this race, from Arnold to Dunning and then the return trip. So we'll have coverage of all of that for you throughout the day on the radio on KBBN 95.3 FM. As far as our video stream coverage today, we'll just be video streaming the opening portion of today's race, which you might be watching now. If you're not aware yet of where you can find our video stream, it's very simple. Just bring up the Sandhills Express Facebook page or the Sandhills Express YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch live video streaming of the start of today's Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
That cone is floating in the air in front of the 1963 Chevy Corvette that will start the 2022 Sandhills Open Road Challenge, and he has been pointed towards the light, or she, I should say. Maria Schneider is the driver. Terry Schneider is the navigator. And I think we're about 10 seconds out from getting started here.
Well, there's always something extra exciting about that very first car that takes off.
And off goes car number 63. That brings up car number 78. No navigator for Timothy Compton in a red 2010 Ford Mustang. Now, it is worth mentioning that in this 80-mile-an-hour class, their target average speed is 80 miles an hour. Their tech speed is 120 miles an hour. That means the fastest they can go while out on the course is 120 miles an hour. They can't go faster than that. So, good to keep in mind.
And Timothy Compton of Denver, Colorado, making his first appearance at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. In our program, he's listed as a rookie driver, so welcome, Timothy. And we wish you the best on your opening run here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. But now it looks as though he might have to wait a little bit.
Yep, we've got the cone coming out Now Dave and Joan are going to be on the other end, and usually they're able to get their hands on a radio and they can send us text messages updating us on what's going on. And off goes Mr. Brock Daly. Looks like he's going to go check a couple of things out. He might have to make a run up the course. So we'll take this opportunity to send it back to the studio for a 1.5 minute timeout. Back after this.
Never know.
And one car is still out on the track. Brent, you thought you saw that maybe they didn't make it too far up the road.
Yeah, trying to get a vantage point from where we're sitting. I think they kind of, when you get started, you have a little dip into the valley a little bit, and then you come back up, and I think that they kind of had their car die right as, well, not too far after they took off on the race. So I think that that's what they're checking at this moment. And you know, we'll just kind of have to see, Jeremy, how things play out. I mean, from where we sit, obviously, we just don't have a lot of information. It could be a technical issue. If they are able to get the car going, you might see a restart on their part. We'll just kind of have to wait and see how it all plays out.
And I think I see the pickup truck that went down there to check on them turning around, so that might be a good sign. Again, that was the 1963 Chevy Corvette of Maria Schneider and Terry Schneider that headed out on the track to start SORC 2022. And yeah, Brock is coming back now. So hopefully this is a good sign, and we'll see a start again.
And again, it goes back to our volunteerism, Jeremy. I mean, when we go through this race, you just never know what can happen. There can be mechanical failure on the part of an automobile as they're out on the course, as we've kind of seen here with the first car that has taken off. There are spotters all across the road. Listen, you never know when wildlife can journey onto the road. We've had stoppages for that in the past. So
yeah,
again, it takes a lot of volunteerism to make sure that safety is in the utmost priority for everybody involved here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
And I think I saw Maria in the passenger seat of the pickup truck that came back. So I think that at least indicates to me that maybe they were able to get the car off of the track enough to where we'll be able to continue here. We'll just kind of see how things move around and move and shake here as we get ready to go again. The cone is moved to the side, and Timothy Compton, car 78, that 2010 Ford Mustang, is going to be able to go out on the Sandhills Open Road Challenge journey.
As we mentioned for Timothy, it's listed here as Timothy being a rookie driver. And so this will be the first run ever of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge for Timothy. Timothy Compton coming to us from Denver, Colorado, getting ready to make his opening run here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
And he's going to be taking off here in a matter of seconds. There he goes. Can't hear him over car number 32. Bill Schneider's loud car sitting right in front of us as Dennis Rennie comes up. No navigator in this car as well. Car number 114. This is a 2011 BMW Z4. You might not have room for a navigator in that car. It's one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, Dennis is a Nebraska driver coming from Dunbar, retired from farming, also a retired fertilizer business owner. This will be his second year driving in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge, and there he goes.
Another quiet takeoff. Now we're going to have a loud takeoff as Bill Schneider comes up. Kendra Duncan sits in the navigator seat. It's a 2006 Pontiac, but it's that's just kind of the stickers for the headlights and taillights, folks. This is essentially what you see racing on Sundays at the Daytona 500. This is a NASCAR.
Bill competed in the 80-mile-an-hour class last year as he takes off on his run here. Finished 7th overall in the class a year ago. Their time off perfect was above 11 seconds, .936, so they'll look to improve on that as they are out on the course here in 2022.
Car number 7 is up next. This is Kirk Sharp with Court Grooms in the navigator seat. 2015 Chevy Corvette. It is red in color.
Kirk Sharp from Valentine, Nebraska, as he takes off on his opening leg of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
He can really get that Corvette opened up. There it goes, off and over the hill as car 718 comes up next. This is Brett Korth. Mike Hanna is in the navigator seat. 2000 Chevy Camaro. It is silver in color for you radio listeners.
And as Brett Korth gets his starting light and takes off on the course, we'll tell you that Brett is from Lincoln, Nebraska, and he's another one of the several who are making their opening run ever at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge, as Brett, another rookie driver in this year's event.
Car 308 up next. Couple of locals to Central Nebraska, Matt Tehan and Mike Tehan in their 2011 Chevy Camaro. It's all black.
Yeah, nice to have the Tehans with us here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Of course, they were one of the several teams that competed in the loop-to-loop back on Thursday. And I think Matt and Mike were part of the half-mile and 1 mile shootout yesterday as well.
They were. Got down the track 3 times and put in some good speeds there. Car 319, our second-to-last car of the 80-mile-an-hour class, Sydney Nelson and Madison Nelson. 2012 Volvo S60, our second black car in a row.
And they come to us from Plattsmouth, Nebraska.
There goes the Volvo. As we have a 2019 Hyundai pulling up next, David Larrison. Car number 832, our final car of the 80-mile-an-hour class.
David Larrison from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Always fun to go through these bios and look at where all of the people traveled from to get to this event each and every year. And there goes David as he's off on his opening leg in the 80-mile-an-hour class here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Well, it's time to go vintage, folks. These are cars that have to be a certain age. That would mean the vintage side of things. Tech speed still 120 miles an hour. Their target speed is 85 miles an hour. The rules are a little bit different as far as the safety equipment and requirements for the vintage cars, and then they have to be of a certain age as well. And the first car in that class is Keith Bisson and Matt Garacki in car 83 and 1983 Camaro.
And Keith, another one of our drivers that come from the state of Iowa. And as we look at the information from a year ago, it was showing Keith as the only entry in the vintage 85 class, or at least the only one that qualified with a time from that class. So you can call them the defending champs in the vintage 85 from a year ago, as their time off perfect was 1 minute 9.515 seconds. And so I'm sure that they have that in mind, and will try to improve on that here in 2022.
Good showing here in the vintage 85 class. 6 entries this year. I think we've had situations in the past where we've only had 1 entry. So great to see more of these vintage cars out here getting ready to head on down the Sandhills Open Road Challenge course. And we always wait a little bit longer in between runs when there is a faster tech speed, or target speed, I should say, than the previous class that went out. They want to leave a little extra room in between those classes because they have to average a higher speed. So Keith and Pat getting ready to head out on the track in about 9 seconds. The Sandhills Open Road Challenge has some wonderful sponsors that are their main sponsors. They call them their official sponsors. Grant can flip those up on the screen now and show those logos to you. You'll also see their banners flying here along the edge of the starting line at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Daniel Metzger Jr. and Ethan Budke up next in car number 411. This is a 1992 Toyota Mr2.
Daniel, another rookie driver, making his opening appearance here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Didn't have too far to travel today. Daniel from Cozad, Nebraska.
There he goes in his Toyota. Cy Nightingale and Jay Nightingale are up next in a 1968 Chevy Camaro, our third car of the vintage class. Beautiful tri-color, or there might even be more than 3 colors in there. It's purple on top, the yellow stripe on the side, and the orange on the bottom.
Cy comes to us from the state of Kansas. Says he doesn't have a lot of racing experience, mostly off-road racing, but he's always wanted to get into open road races. And I have a feeling he'll be back, because usually when you come here for the first time, you get hooked and want to make return appearances. So the best of luck to Cy Nightingale of Kansas as he's off and running here in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Well, just like that, we're on car number 5 of 6 in the vintage 85 class. This is Dane Trow and Guy Trow in a 1994 Chevy Corvette. And that's not a Corvette. I think they had a switch up of cars. That is a pickup truck.
I think 969 is Dan Rohrbach.
Oh, whoops, I went ahead.
That's
Sorry.
all right. That's Dan from Aberdeen, South Dakota. And now we'll see Dan and Guy in number 977 come to the start line.
Yep, that was a 95 GMC Sierra. I got happy with my check marks. Up next is Dane and Guy in their 1994 Chevy Corvette.
Dane also from the state of Kansas, and listed in our program as another rookie driver off and running here in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Little squeal with the tires, and he is off. Car 508 is up next. This is David Lynn and Jeff Stelling in a 1971 Dodge Challenger. And I think we're going to have one more car in this vintage class. I can't remember if they used the stuffed animal as the marker of the last car of the class. It's the first car of the next class.
Yeah.
So this will be our last vintage car.
Nice to see David Lynn back at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. David, just down the highway a little bit, comes from Broken Bow, Nebraska. David Lynn, a native of Arnold, now living in Broken Bow. So, David, best of luck to you as you take off on your opening leg of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. As we get ready for our next mile per hour class, we want to again say thanks to our sponsors who are bringing you radio coverage of today's event. They include the Smoke Shack, First State Insurance, Reed's Food Center, Mills Hardware, Winquist Incorporated, A1 Auto Repair, Shotgun Annie's Saloon and Grill, BD, Fixed Right Auto Body, Grazer's Bar and Grill in Arnold. That's been a happening place here throughout the activities of this week. Trumbull Repair and Towing, Callaway District Hospital with the Arnold and Callaway Medical Clinics, John Farley at Lashley Land and Recreational Brokers, and Trotter Service bringing you our radio coverage today on KBBN 95.3 FM and on the web at kbbn.com.
Cone comes back out, and believe that is hopefully because we're going to have a faster target speed in this next class, which is the 90-mile-an-hour class. Now, this is a very popular class, and it is year in and year out. 24 entries in the 90-mile-an-hour class. I've talked to a couple of the drivers, and they just say it just feels like that good, happy medium. Just feels good to go out there and get a speed up a little bit higher than that entry-level speed, but, I mean, you're not quite going an average of 120 either.
Yeah, it's certainly a very competitive class, too. Lyril Holt is the defending champion. If you go back to last year's results in the 90-mile-an-hour target speed class, Lyril Holt was just .066 off perfect time a year ago.
There goes John Schmidt in his 1990 Chevy Corvette with the number 8 on the side, and we're underway in the 90-mile-an-hour class. As pulling up next is Clint McKenzie and Jack McKenzie in that bright lime green 2007 Dodge Charger.
Clint McKenzie out of Crete, Nebraska, another one of our in-state drivers here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
He's got less than 3 seconds before he heads off. And there he goes. Coming up next, the third car in the 90-mile-an-hour class, Rob Walton and Alex Varney, a 2014 VW Passat.
Rob Walton from Overland Park, Kansas, making the journey here to Arnold, Nebraska to participate.
And off goes the Passat. Car number 46 next, Richard Dayton will be driving. Will Hayward will be navigating for him. A 1965 Chevy 2. I love these Chevy 2s. They're so compact. When you put a big engine under that hood, you can get them moving really quick.
Richard making the long journey from the state of California to be with us today. Looking back at last year's results, it showed Richard competing in the 80-mile-an-hour class last year, where he placed 4th. Now moving up to the 90-mile-an-hour class.
Car number 92 next, Robert Mccullough in a 2016 Chevy Corvette. No navigator. It is worth mentioning that when these folks come up with no navigator, they've got to keep an eye on all kinds of stuff, including the stopwatch and other timing mechanisms, plus they got to keep their eyes on the road.
Well, we have several who have traveled from the capital city of Nebraska to be with us today. Robert is among them. Robert Mccullough off and running. Robert comes to us from Lincoln.
Car number 173 up next, Samer Damer and Debbie Damer in a 2018 Chevy Camaro. This is our 6th car of 24 in the 90-mile-an-hour class.
Samer Damer from Parkville, Missouri, coming to the Sandhills Open Road Challenge this year.
Boy, I can't help but notice, Brent, and I think I should point it out to our viewers before we get too far up, but when car 84 comes up, you'll see something sticking out of the hood. He's got 2 turbos sticking right up out of the hood so they can get as much air to that engine as possible. Wow, that just really catches your eye. Also catching my eye is Lyral Holt and Nick Haltman in car 49. It's going to be a real quiet takeoff. It's a 2021 Tesla. I believe this is a Plaid edition.
Yep, and as we mentioned earlier, as they take off on their run, these were your champions of the 90-mile-an-hour class a year ago. Lyral Holt coming to us from Olathe, Kansas.
My goodness, that Tesla gets up and moves really quick. Kristen's going to have trouble keeping up with that one on camera, and it's completely quiet. Car 84 next, Dave Wallace and Matt Allen, a 1986 Chevy Corvette. This is that one I was mentioning to you folks. This one is boosted. It's got a lot of power. They're working on getting his driver window up, so we'll allow the clock to go around again.
Well, we apologize, but car number 84 not listed in our program, so not really able to give you any more information than the fact that it is Dave Wallace at the start line, getting ready to go with his opening run here at SORC.
Nice looking older Corvette, 1986 Corvette, flat black in color. Gets those turbos up and spinning, and the boost catches up to him about 50 yards out, and he's off and going. Here comes a new Mini Cooper up next, the 2022 Predpol and Slevopol in that black Mini Cooper.
Says for Predpol, it's the 8th time taking part in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Another driver from Lincoln, Nebraska, joining us here this year.
And they get the green light and are off and running as car 280 comes to the line. Alan Kortmeyer and Gary Kortmeyer, a 1996 Porsche.
2 more drivers coming down from, Alan from Seward, Nebraska. Gary Kortmeyer, his hometown listed as Burke, South Dakota. Nice to have the Kortmeyers back with us as they get ready to take off here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
And take off they do. It is a convertible Porsche, but they've got the top up today. Going to be going too fast for that. Car 113 next. Brock Anderson and Britt Anderson, a 2012 Chevy Corvette, red in color. Again, looking to average 90 miles an hour. They can drive up to 120 miles an hour.
Brock Anderson from Gothenburg, Nebraska says it's his second year at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. So with a year under his belt, we'll see how Brock does here this season.
Here comes our first mid-engine Chevy Corvette. It's a 2021 beautiful orange in color. That is Randy Bauer behind the wheel and Alex Bauer in the passenger and navigator seat. The engine is behind the driver and navigator. The trunk of the car is in the front in these newer Corvettes.
Randy Bauer from McCook, Nebraska says he's participated in SORC since 2010 and thoroughly enjoys each and every year coming back.
And they've got plenty of power as they are taking off and are on the track. Up next is David Sanderson and Tim Winker, a 2017 Ford Fiesta hatchback. Magnetic is what is listed for the color.
David from Glidden, Iowa. Nice to have David making the journey here.
And off they go in their hatchback. Car 279 coming up next. It's a white Chevy Camaro, a 2019. Carly Bates behind the driver's seat. No navigator for Carly in this white car, our 14th of the 90-mile-an-hour class.
Carly Bates, another one of our rookie drivers, coming to us from Eagle Mountain, Utah, making her first appearance here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Best of luck, Carly.
Car 302 up next. I'm guessing it has a 302 engine under the hood. It's Chad Smith with Donna Smith, 2013 Ford Mustang.
Chad from Alliance, Nebraska, says in their bio they look forward to the challenge in the Sandhills, and I think that's a good opportunity for us, Jeremy, to bring out the fact that this course, for these drivers, they always talk highly about the course and the challenge that it is compared to maybe some other road races across the nation.
Yeah, I think we kind of overlook the word challenge at the end of Sandhills Open Road Challenge sometimes. It requires two hands on the wheel and your eyes wide open. Car 363 up next. Mike Rasmussen and Corey Casey, 2016 Volvo.
And Mike, another driver from Plattsmouth, Nebraska, participating here this year.
Car 313 up next. James Luby and Carl Luby, a 1979 Chevy Camaro. This is one of my favorites. I love these late 70s Camaros. Beautiful car, red, black wheels.
James from Beaver Crossing, Nebraska, been competing in autocross, shootouts, and SORC since finishing the rebuild on his vehicle. And there goes James with his opening leg of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
And it sounds great, James. Good job on that rebuild. I know those are a lot of work. Car 18 in order. Where's number 316? Rod Schneider and Mitch Hendricks, 2001 Chevy S10.
Ron Schneider, another one of our drivers from Lincoln, Nebraska, said he'd been hearing about the race in Arnold for a while. So here he is, making his first appearance at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Best of luck to you, Ron, as you take off on your first experience here at SORC.
Now this color on this next Corvette, driven by Jessica Morton, is gorgeous. It's called Black Rose. It kind of has a purple tint to it. Car 455.
Jessica Morton making the long journey from Spanish Springs, Nevada, to be here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
I've never been to Spanish Springs, but it really sounds relaxing.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Car 485 up next. Jared Beam and Debbie Beam, 2012 Chevy Camaro, gray in color.
I love what they say in their bio. They refer to SORC as marriage therapy at 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, no better time to sort things out, right?
That's great. The Beams from Topeka, Kansas, to be with us today.
Another audience that we should welcome to our broadcast is those drivers that are listening in their cars. You know, we always have some drivers that are listening in their cars, have the radio turned up, kind of keep up with everything. And now, I'm sure that volume goes down when they get to the starting line, though. But it gives you something to listen to while you're waiting in line, getting ready to run. As off goes car number 485. Lucas Prusha, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Lucas, and Keel Holmes up next. Car 635, beautiful blue Chevy Corvette.
And another one of our participants from Lincoln, Nebraska, also listed as a rookie driver. So best of luck to you, Lucas, as you experience for the first time the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
And they're off and on the track. As car 673, our third to last car of the 90-mile-an-hour class, comes up. Jacob Klaus behind the driver's wheel, 2019 Chevy Camaro.
Well, if you want proof of how word about this race and the experience of it gets around, boy, here's another rookie driver. People hear about this and they contact the organizers and they want to be a part of it. Jacob Klaus is here for the first time, Springfield, Missouri.
There is a process, folks, if you're not familiar with SORC, on getting in. If you're not a SORC lifer or have one of those lifetime spots available to you, you've got to submit your application, essentially. Goes through the committee and they let folks know by sending them a card in the mail who is coming in. Car 711, Paul Smith and Josh Hollingsworth in their Ford Mustang next. They're off and running. Our second to last car, the 90-mile-an-hour class. And our last car is going to be a beautiful 2014 Porsche. John Belford and Matt Belford are the driver and navigator, respectively.
And here you go, another rookie driver making their first appearance at SORC, John Belford from Omaha, Nebraska. Wow. Just like that, Jeremy, we're through the 90-mile-an-hour class. We've got them all out on the road.
Yep, and we haven't had any pauses, which is always great. And we'll wait to hear for when they are on the other side of the track where they are racing to. We usually receive a text message or word of some kind to let us know that they have made it safely to the other side. The cone goes out for the moment in time. That is because we've got a change in class coming up next. One of my favorite classes are these extreme classes. That is because the target speed is the exact same as the tech speed. So it's all about time with these 90 extreme and the other extreme courses, because you are trying to average 90 miles an hour and you can only go up to 90 miles an hour. So it's whoever gets through the course the fastest.
And the car that will start us off, Robbie Smith, he is a veteran of SORC, and boy has he had a lot of success at this race. In fact, when we look at last year's standings, it was Robbie and Shelly Smith that won the Extreme 90 class from a year ago. So best of luck to them as Robbie tries to defend his title. He's had a lot of success in different speed classes over the years here at this Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Another one of those newer Corvettes. Gosh, those are gorgeous cars. Kind of looking a little bit less than that. You see the Corvette that'll come up next, folks, those of you watching on the video stream. That's kind of the last body style of Corvette, and those new Corvettes just sit so much lower and have almost that Lamborghini supercar type look to them. They're gorgeous. Car 376 up next. This is a gray Corvette. This is a 2009 ZR1 driven by Steve Tasca.
And Steve was your runner-up in the Extreme 90 class from a year ago. So you know that Steve is off and running, thinking about trying to gain the title this year. Steve coming to us from Colorado Springs.
Well, it certainly sounds like he's doing the right thing. He stepped on the skinny pedal on the right-hand side, right? Car 866 next, Trenton Zesson and Jared Halverson. This is my favorite car, one of my favorites, a 1966 Chevy Nova. I like these older cars that are bred to race.
Trenton Zessen, another one of our Nebraska drivers, making the journey from Malcolm to be here today.
A Shelby Mustang comes up next. Joseph Greer in this car. Let's see here. I want to make sure I've got this number right. That looks like a 6 on the end of the number on that car. Not a 9.
I think it might be 86.
We might be missing the 879 car.
Yep.
So we'll pass up Joseph Greer at the moment, and Daniel Manis and Shane Landis are going to be coming up here shortly, but the cone is out. And I believe still out there on the track would be portions of the 90-mile-an-hour class, and then obviously a few of these 90 extreme racers.
Well, as Daniel gets ready to make his run, he is coming to us from the state of Kansas. We have several participants who come from the state of Kansas to participate here in SORC.
You've got some good roads to cruise down there in Kansas as well. Nice highways and some hills. Cone is moved out of the way. Still some information coming in on the radios of those at the start line, but we've got 10 seconds before we see Daniel head out on the track. He gets the RPMs up there and lets her eat off the starting line. Car 85, another beautiful Chevy Corvette. This is a 2020. I think Barry Conkin has got himself a gorgeous car. I don't know. I like the color scheme on this one. Kind of a baby blue with a splash of red on the wheels and the side and the edge of the spoiler. Barry being navigated by Kelly Burke in that 2020 Corvette.
Barry from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. There goes Barry. You know, we've been announcing a lot of rookie drivers making their first appearance here. Barry is not one of them. He's been here. He's got experience, competed in 18 of the past 22 SORC races, and every loop-to-loop race has Barry Conkin of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Car 707 is next. Ken Hodges and Les Peterson. Our last car of the 90 Extreme class, a 2007, Chevy Corvette, red with the gray accents.
Car number 707, that's Ken Hodges of Julesburg, Colorado.
Ken will wait for the light to go around one more time. Our next class will be the 95-mile-an-hour class. Good amount of entries there, 23 entries. A 2017 Lamborghini is what is going to kick off the races in the 95-mile-an-hour class here shortly. There goes Ken and Les. And the cone will come out for a quick second. We'll take a moment, a 30-second timeout, and hear from one of our sponsors. We'll be back with that 95-mile-an-hour class.
Hailstones and your car's
Under the shadow of a cell phone tower, we sit. Thank you to Grant Winterer, who is running the video switcher and keeping you folks on the air, keeping an eye on 3 cameras, 3 sound sources, and the stream as well for you folks that are watching online. Emily is standing in the back of the truck right behind us. She's working a camera, and Kristen is over. She's working the camera as the cars head out on the course here for SORC 2022. We couldn't do it without them. We're just the voices.
Yes, although I do think it's worth mentioning Jeremy did most of the setup. He's very humble. So you did a nice job getting everything set up.
I will say that, you know, setup situations like that, it's I'm very happy to be blessed with long legs because I'd take a lot more steps in the day running around setting things up if I didn't have long legs and high attached hips.
Well, we've been mentioning that Dave and Joan Burney are at the other end of today's race, and they'll have radio coverage for you on KBBN 95.3 FM as the drivers make their return trip from Dunning to Arnold. But we've been informed that all of the 80-mile-per-hour class entries have made it to the other end, and all of the vintage class entries are in as well. So that is certainly good news from the other end of this race today. As we move into the 95-mile-an-hour class, we'll go back to last year's results and let you know who the champion was. Last year it was Michael Schultz, driver, Garrett Moore, navigator, in a 2003 Ford Mustang. They were .028 seconds off perfect time.
Wow.
In winning the event.
That is amazing. To be less than half a second like that. There goes car number 40, Darren Brewer and Sean Robinson in that 2017 Lamborghini. I can tell that's the original engine. It sounds beautiful, and we are underway in the 95-mile-an-hour class. Target speed average is 95 miles an hour. Tech speed, which is their maximum speed, is 120 miles an hour. Car number 2 in the 95-mile-an-hour class coming up next. Mike Mccullough and Zach Rustad in their Audi off on the track.
Mike is from Lincoln, Nebraska. He's another one of the entries who has a lot of experience here. For Mike, it says it's his 21st year participating in the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge.
Daniel Leimbach and Deborah Leimbach up next. Beautiful 2015 Chevy Corvette, car 143, kind of a bronze color. And off they go.
Car number 143, Daniel Leimbach from New Braunfels, Texas, making the long journey up here to Arnold to participate.
Car 204 up next, a Cadillac holding a lot of power under that hood. It's a 2022 brand new Jason Hornady and Todd Vance up next. They're going to wait one more rotation of the starting light.
Well, as they do that, we'll tell you Jason is from Grand Island, Nebraska. Says Jason and Todd have been best friends for over 20 years. Both shooting sports professionals. They live about 1,000 miles apart, but they talk every day. They won't be 1,000 miles apart now. They're side by side as they get ready to take off here at the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge.
Side by side at up to 120 miles an hour. That's how best friends become even better friends.
There you go.
Car 971 up next, the 2003 Ford Mustang. This is Michael Schultz and Garrett Moore. They are our 5th car of the 95-mile-an-hour class this year.
Michael Schultz, another Nebraska driver out of Raymond, Nebraska. Says he's had so much fun running in SORC, they're here to do it again.
Burns a little rubber as he heads off on the track. Beautiful yellow Corvette coming up next. Jay Hill behind the steering wheel. Kathy Hill sitting to his right in the navigation spot, a 2016 Chevy Corvette.
Jay Hill, hometown listed as Thornton, Colorado in our program as they come to participate in SORC.
Looks like we're going to have 4 Corvettes right in a row here. Dave mentions this, and I agree with it. These Corvettes, right off the lot, are race ready. So they're pretty popular at a lot of open road races, including SORC. Here's another one, Jack Martin and Scott Patton, a 2000 Chevy Corvette up next, our 7th car.
Jack Martin from Hutchinson, Kansas, says it's his 9th year for the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge.
And there they go.
And as Jack takes off, kind of interesting reading the bio, says he was a volunteer flagger in 2013 and then drove for the first time in 2014 here at SORC.
Very cool. Car 283 up next. Darcy Laws and Andrea Laws, 2015 Chevy Corvette. It's red in color, wearing that 283 on the side.
And they come to us from Casper, Wyoming.
Here comes that fourth Corvette in a row that we mentioned. Car number 94, gunmetal gray, 2009, driven by Zeke Peterson. Ryan Conover is in the navigation seat.
Zeke was among the contestants in a half-mile and 1 mile shootout event yesterday. Zeke coming to us from Brule, Nebraska, now ready for the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge.
Stabs his foot into the gas, and they are off and running as a 2017 Ford Focus comes to the line next. It's a hatchback driven by William Varnum. Jane Exler is going to navigate for him.
William listed from St. Louis, Missouri.
Again, we're about halfway through the 95-mile-an-hour class. 23 cars are listed, and this is our 11th. Car number 69, this is Zach Hagler and Wayne Bierman, a 2019 Dodge Challenger. Again, 95-mile-an-hour average is the target speed. They can go up to 120 miles an hour on the straightaway. At least I'm assuming they're doing 120 on the straightaways only, not the turns. Maybe they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be
a challenge.
Yeah, that's the maximum they can go.
Zach, one of our local boys. Zach from Arnold, Nebraska. Zach certainly very familiar with the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge, but listed as a rookie driver, so making his first run at SORC.
Kevin Duffy up next, driving the 314 car. Scott LaPointe is the navigator, a 1964 Chevy Chevelle. Beautiful looking car, steps up to the starting line. There they go. They get that engine wrapped up, that four-door green. Looks like it's original paint and everything. I love that. Out on the track.
Handful of drivers coming from the state of Minnesota, and Scott is among them, as he's off and running now here in the opening leg of SORC.
Up next, car number 72, David Janes and Foster Janes, a 2018 Chevy Corvette. It's black with the red accents. Two more Corvettes coming up. Our next two cars out. Car 364, Ken Reese and Mike Reese. This is a 2009 Chevy Corvette.
Ken from North Las Vegas, Nevada. Ken Reese listed in our program as a retired United States Air Force pilot, from helicopters to fighters.
Car 371 up next, a little bit deeper blue in color, has the red stripes on the front fender. Car 371, Balaz Mackay and Greg Dolgos in a 2017 Chevy Corvette.
Another participant from the state of Nevada, listed as a rookie driver, so experiencing the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge for the first time.
I feel like Nevada is a very, very good state to have a cruising car like that. You can drive it almost year-round. Car 399 up next, Clay Hanson and Eric Peterson, a 2010 Dodge Challenger. Bright yellow in color for those of you watching the live stream. You know that. For those of you listening on the radio, now you do.
Clay from the state of Utah.
Two Camaros coming up next back-to-back, a 2016 now and a 2002 after that. Alan Golden and Mark Golden in this 2016 Chevy Camaro blue. Up next, car 511. We've already cooked through 17 cars here in the 95-mile-an-hour class.
And Alan Golden, another one of our Minnesota participants, coming from Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota.
Gets a good jump off the line and already headed out on the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge here in year 2022. Car 589, that 2002 Chevy Camaro I mentioned. It's listed as orange, but I'd call it more of like a copper or burnt orange type of color. It's Nick Stewart and Diane Stewart.
And they're from Frisco, Texas.
Car 605, our next entry in the 95-mile-an-hour class, a 2004 Cadillac. Jack Schmidt and Jake Schmidt in the driver and navigator seat, respectively.
And Jack Schmidt from Willow Lake, South Dakota.
They're about 3 seconds away from heading out on the track. Folks that are watching the video live stream, take a glance up there at the top right-hand part of your screen every now and then and notice those sponsors scrolling on the screen. We couldn't be here doing this broadcast without them. Car 68 up next, Linda Kruger and Rick Kruger, a 2017 Ford Mustang. I'm guessing they're from Kansas. They've got the Kansas City Chiefs logo on the side there. And I'm guessing they're going to enjoy this NFL season a lot more than you and I as Bear fans, Brent. I'm just guessing.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
no analyst, but
well, I can tell you that the Chiefs, and Jeremy and I are big Chicago Bears fans. The Chiefs play the Bears today in the NFL preseason.
Yeah, winning that game in the preseason might be the only option or the only chance we've got. Car 717 up next, Matt Hasenauer and Kelly Hasenauer, a 2005 Mercedes SL 600. Gotta love the way that car sits.
Matthew Hasenauer from North Platte, Nebraska. Another one of our rookie drivers making their first appearance here at SORC.
Car 720 up next, Matt Voss, or Vos, I apologize, Matt, and Brad Rorda, 2002 GMC Sonoma. We remember this one from the shootout yesterday because it's loud.
So we'll enjoy it. And there they go. Matt from Pella, Iowa. Says here that they started land speed racing back in 2013 to get them hooked.
Car 77 is our last car, the 95-mile-an-hour class. Leah Axamit and Dan Axamit in their 2016 Chevy Corvette, bright yellow in color.
Dan from Broomfield, Colorado. As they take off, we can let you know that Dan was born and raised in Denver. Dan owns 6 car washes in the Denver suburbs. I thought his car looked extra shiny.
Yeah,
he knows how to do it.
Yeah, knows how to polish up a car. You can't have a dirty car when you're promoting a car wash. Dodge Viper up next, and the cone comes out. That's because we're going up a mile-an-hour class to the 100-mile-an-hour class. Now, their target speed is obviously 100 miles an hour. Here's where things get really interesting, Brent, because that tech speed, or their maximum speed they can travel, 140 miles an hour out here on this Sandhills Road. So this 100-mile-an-hour class steps up that tech speed, and it's a 40-mile-an-hour difference between their target and their maximum they can travel.
As we go back to last year in the 100-mile-per-hour class, Mike Hill and Julie Hill were your champions in a 2015 Chevy Corvette. They were 0.087 seconds off perfect time to win the 100-mile-an-hour class a year ago.
I don't think I could drive 100 yards and get that close to crossing the finish line at the right time. I don't think I could run 10 feet and time it correctly. Jim Miller and Harvey Beans, or Bennis, are going to kick us off in their 2005 Viper here, but the cone is out at the moment.
Jim is from North Platte, Nebraska. Well, you and I have both been out on this road between Arnold and Dunning on numerous occasions, and every time I go out on it, I just think to this race and to the drivers who are out on it and the speeds that they go, it really speaks to some of the high quality driving that comes to this event. I mean, we talk a lot about the cars, certainly, but the people behind the wheel, Jeremy, they are really talented to post some of the times and speeds that they do on this course.
A lot of former pilots. We see a lot of former pilots that are now retired, don't fly as much anymore, but they want to go fast on the ground. They're like, well, you take away my airplane and just give me something that flies on the ground. There goes Jim and Harvey out on the track, and we're underway here in the 100-mile-an-hour class. That brings us car number 5, Wayne Hora and Megan Everson. 1990 Chevy Corvette going to be our second car in this class.
Wayne from Stapleton, Nebraska. Of course, Wayne is, well, I think you can call him a lifer when it comes to Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Back for the 22nd time of competition in the SORC. Always nice to see Wayne representing Stapleton, Nebraska.
A little bit more time in between these cars because of that high tech speed. So he'll go here in about a little more than 10 seconds. Want to thank the official SORC sponsors on behalf of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge Committee. Viera Wireless, which we are using, by the way, to stream the video coverage for you folks today. Thank you as well to Pinnacle Bank, DeKalb and Asgrow, Optima Batteries, Blue Pen Engines, South Loop Seed, 444 Racing, Hornady, and Great Plains Communications.
And we can tell you, Jeremy, that all of the 90-mile-per-hour class has arrived safely at the other end of the course.
Great. Car 44 next, Tom Kirk and Brian Kirk. This is a 2004 Porsche. Has a beautiful white color splashed across it.
Tom and Brian from Lincoln, Nebraska. Tom, a retired Chrysler dealer from Lincoln. Says here that Brian has a hobby of working on BMWs and their Porsche, which is nice, as we can never seem to stop fiddling with their cars, it says.
That's part of being an enthusiast. No matter how complete you might think it is, you're always tinkering with something, touching something, and then in my case, now probably not with these guys' cases because they know a lot more about what they're doing, but in my case, I've got an engine and everything that's fine, and then I screw around with it and I mess it up, and then I got to start over. Car 712 is next as Tom and Brian head out on the course. Sid Stewart and Steve Swisher at the starting line in their 2011 Ford Mustang. This is a Shelby edition. It's white with the blue stripes down the middle.
Sid from McCook, Nebraska. They competed in this mile-per-hour class a year ago. Their time off perfect was 10.244 seconds, so they'll look to improve on that this year. Sid out of McCook, Nebraska.
Good amount of Nebraskans in the race again this year. More specifically from Lincoln, Nebraska. We've got a lot of folks from the capital city. We go there for football games, and they come here to race their cars. What a partnership. Car number 59 up next, Kevin Hanchu and Rick Kane, a 2003 Chevy Corvette.
Kevin from Wichita, Kansas, says it's his 4th year at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. First year he was a volunteer, then has competed for 2 years. Says it's an honor and privilege to be involved in such a great tradition. And that's certainly what this event has become. It's become a tradition. People continue to come back year after year. And, you know, we talk about all of the volunteers. I look out, Jeremy, and I see some of these volunteers. I was here for some of the early races in the history of this competition, and I still see the same people year after year that continue to volunteer because they love the event so much as well.
And there goes car 59. The 311 up next. It's a soft top, but that top's going to be staying up. You can't let the wind blow through your hair through a helmet anyway, so they're just going to keep it up. All black, black wheels, red calipers inside those wheels. Gorgeous looking car. James Lockhart, no navigator for James today, according to the grid. A 2016 Chevy Corvette.
James, another one of our drivers from Lincoln, Nebraska. Also one of our rookie drivers in the competition this year, so he'll be experiencing the race for the first time. Says here that James was born in Hawaii and grew up on a farm in Washington State. Go Cougars, he says.
There you go.
Also played professional racquetball.
Have you ever tried to play racquetball?
Yeah, I
gotta
played
tell ya.
racquetball in college, and
Holy smokes.
it was an adventure for me.
I spent more time hitting that ball into myself rather than my racket. They need to spread those walls out. Car 71 up next. Our next Cadillac. This is a 2013 CTS V. Charlie Friend behind the wheel, a familiar name here at SORC.
Yes, Charlie from the state of Nevada, state of Nevada, retired from the Air Force as a fighter pilot in 1980. Following his retirement, he was extremely fortunate to land a job flying military-type jet fighters for a civilian company under government contract. Retired from full-time work in 1997. Great to have Charlie here once again for the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
There you go. One of those former pilots. Cone is out. Gonna get the radios fired up here at the starting line. I saw a post on the Sandhills Open Road Challenge Facebook page, and it was a picture of a table with their walkie-talkies on it, and they were charging them all up. And I can't remember the exact number, but it was well into the 100s, bordering on the 200s, as far as the amount of walkie-talkies it takes for them to pull off these races during the Sandhills Open Road Challenge each year. Simply amazing.
Well, communication is key, not just between driver and navigator when they're on the course, but communication very key to all of the volunteers who are out on the course to make sure that the roadway is safe. We can tell you, Jeremy, that all of the 90 Extreme class now has arrived safely at the other end of the course.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Wanted to take a moment while we have it to thank our sponsors you're hearing on the radio at times. They include the Smoke Shack, First State Insurance, Reed's Food Center, Mills Hardware, Winquist Incorporated, A1 Auto Repair, Shotgun Annie Saloon and Grill, BD of Broken Bow, Fixed Right Auto Body, Grazer's Bar and Grill here in Arnold. They've got some entertainment set up for tonight. Trumbo Repair and Towing, the Callaway District Hospital with the Arnold and Callaway Medical Clinics, John Farley at Lashley Land and Recreational Brokers, and Trotter Service in Broken Bow, all bringing you the 3 days of radio coverage from the loop-to-loop race in Halsey to the shootout at the Kozak Callaway Road yesterday to the SORC here in Arnold. Thank you to those radio sponsors. Those of you watching the video stream, hope you're enjoying that. Just checked, and we've got a good amount of people watching on both Facebook and YouTube. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast. It's a lot of working parts and a lot of cord.
Yes.
And a lot of, we've got 2 power strips running all this equipment. Let's see, 3. We have 10 cords plugged into 2 power strips in order to put this video broadcast up for you. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we hope that if you have the opportunity to support those sponsors you see scrolling on your screen throughout the day and popping up on the bottom of it at times, that you take the opportunity to support those businesses. Orange cone is moved out from in front of the Charlie Friend driven 2013 Cadillac. So he's going to be headed out on the course here pretty darn soon. Again, we're blessed with a slight breeze again today.
It's very comfortable.
We had that yesterday. Yeah, yes, temperature-wise, it's pretty comfortable. Every now and then it might overwhelm our mics a little bit, but got to tell you, it's a lot of heat comes out of that cornfield across the way. Keep it nice and irrigated, so we'll take it. Charlie Friend out on the course. Car 211 up next. John Shuda, a 2001 Chevy Corvette.
John from Downers Grove, Illinois, says it's his 6th year at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Says this is always the highlight of the year for him and looks forward to seeing friends that they've met since attending for the first time back in 2017. Says he's proud to participate in such a unique event that benefits the local communities, and that it does.
Yeah, if you folks aren't aware, the Sandhills Open Road Challenge as an organization and as a committee is completely non-profit. All of their money goes back into community events, and it was founded in 2001. 55 miles of narrow blacktop country road with twists, turns, and straights to keep the racers busy is what they are headed out to experience. Our 9th car of the 100-mile-an-hour class comes up next. Bill Harvey and Andrew Harvey, a 2006 Saturn, coming to the starting line.
Bill from South Lyon, Michigan. 7th year here at SORC. Came in 2016 as a spectator and was instantly sold. Raced in 2017, 18, 2020, and 2021. Took a break in 2019, but came as a volunteer. So Bill certainly loves this event.
If you folks have never driven this road just outside of Arnold, it is possibly one of the most gorgeous drives in all of central Nebraska. You go up onto this plateau and make your way through the sand hills that are up outside of Arnold. It is absolutely gorgeous. They might have a second or two to glance at the view, these drivers, but not much time to pay attention to anything but driving. Car 120 up next. Scott Mann. No navigator with Scott today, a 2007 Chevy Corvette. He's going to be busy inside his car.
Well, as they wait to get their lights to head out on the course, we can kind of remind you as to what our coverage will look like for the rest of the day. We'll stay on the radio with you through the duration of the race. Dave Burney and Joan Burney are at the other end, and they'll kind of keep you updated on the return trip for these drivers, and we'll cover that for you throughout the day on KBBN 95.3 FM. But again, for those of you who might be watching the video streaming coverage, we'll just have a video stream of the start of today's race.
And we keep that radio coverage at the turnaround going because that's important to find out that these cars are making it to that end. And because they want to get some interviews over there at the other side. Dave usually pokes his head in a couple of cars and talks to some drivers and navigators and has a good time up there on that end. So that will be coming to you on 95.3 as well as our free app and kbbn.com later on today. Car 392 holds Scott Fry behind the driver's seat, or in the driver's seat behind the steering wheel. He's not sitting in the back of the car. He's got Forrest Smith with him, a 2021 Dodge Challenger.
Scott from Loveland, Colorado says he was officially hooked on the culture and racing at SORC in 2016 when he was a navigator in that year. Nice to have Scott back from Loveland, Colorado.
The cone is out, so we'll wait for that to be resolved so that he can go back out on the course. Let's go ahead and just take a second and hear from one of our sponsors. We'll take a 30-second timeout and come back after this. For the remainder of the 100-mile-an-hour class, cone is still out, sitting in front of the car of Scott Fry and Forrest Smith. So they're going to wait to get things resolved down the track, and they are going to move the cone, which has been great. You know, every time we've seen the cone come out, it has not been out there for long. That means that we're having smooth racing, and that's what we always hope continues all the way through the duration of all 3 days of racing. All black car for Scott Fry. Beautiful 2021 Dodge Challenger. Gets the "Are you ready?" call. And he'll be off and running here shortly. But while we were setting up this morning, all kinds of other things were being set up. They put it would take me all afternoon to put together that Blueprint Engines tent over there that they've got the tech check people under. They've got these nice blow-up inflatables along the starting line as well. Good crowd of people checking out these cars coming up the road, taking a close look at them before they head out on the course. Car 415 up next. Tim Zimmerman and Cecilia Zimmerman, a 2014 Dodge Charger.
Zimmerman's from Sandy, Utah, making the long journey here to participate in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Yeah, we're a little bit more than halfway through this 100-mile-an-hour class. 20 cars in this class. This is the 12th car of those 20. Yet in this class, we're going to see a couple of Corvettes, a 1966 Chevy Corvette, a 94 Ford Mustang GT, all looking to average 100 miles an hour to get as close to the perfect time while maxing out at 140 miles an hour. That is what we call the tech speed. Car 23 rolls to the starting line next. Les Steinoff in the driver's seat. No navigator for Les in that 2011 Chevy Corvette.
Les, another one of our participants that made the long journey from the state of California to be here today. Les says, so happy to be back racing in Arnold, Nebraska. The people of Arnold hold a special place in their hearts, sharing their town and road with us. Also sends out a big thank you, as we've been doing really through the course of the day, to all of the wonderful dedicated volunteers who make these events possible.
A lot of volunteers we see walking around here at the starting line. Got to thank the volunteer fire departments that are out along the track, many of which we see drive past the starting line to get in their positions on this end of the course, but a lot of them find their positions on the other end of the course and have their flags in hand and their walkie-talkies, all doing one thing, keeping all these drivers safe and keeping an eye on them on all parts of the course. Car 462 up next. Another Boss 302 engine under the hood of Jason Rader and Kate Rader's 2012 Mustang.
Jason and Kate, another couple of participants from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Beautiful car, black rims, black splash of accent across the side. And thank you everyone for tuning in on our video stream on YouTube and Facebook on Sandhills Express and both of those avenues. Would appreciate you following along on those pages. If you want to click that like or follow button, we'd appreciate that. We do lots of different live streams throughout the year, high school sports, the SORC. We video stream quiz bowls even, all kinds of stuff. So follow along if you'd like. Car 486 next, Barry Lohman, familiar name to the Sandhills Open Road Challenge, a 2007 Chevy Corvette.
Barry, another one of our participants from the state of Texas. Has had a lot of success as we read through his bio when it comes to open road racing. In fact, it even says he has become quite the character throughout the world of open road racing. So nice to have Barry here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Yeah, a lot of these cars that you see come through, you know, they like to put what races they've participated in on the side of their car. And there are a few open road races that happen across the country that these drivers participate in. Car 690 coming up next. Remember this car having some good success in the shootout yesterday. And how can you forget it? It's a 1966 Chevy Corvette. Bob Brownell and Sean Fletcher driving and navigating this one.
And reading through the bio, looks like their first attempt at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge was last year, here for the second time. Love what it says in their bio. It says, second time running in an open road race. We will have no idea what we are doing, but hopefully the results are a little better this year. They finished 11th overall in the 100-mile-per-hour class a year ago as we look at the results from last year. So best of luck to Bob from Laramie, Wyoming, as they get ready to participate here in 2022.
Well, no pressure, Bob and Shone. A lot of these drivers have said to me in the past, you know, I don't stress about the time. I just go out there, go fast, and keep it between the white lines. And a lot of drivers do that. They just want to go out and cruise.
And we can let you know that all of the 95-mile-an-hour class entries have arrived safely at the other end of our racing competition today. We've been talking a lot about Dave and Joan Burney helping us out this year. They've got some help, too, this year. Oliver, their grandson, is at the other end, too. Oliver, good morning to you. How are you, buddy?
Maybe he'll conduct a couple of interviews.
You never know.
Car 696 is up next. This is Bob Bixler Jr. No navigator for Bob today. A 94 Ford Mustang GT.
Bob Bixler from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Starts his timing equipment inside the cab there and heads off on his own on this course. Our third to last car in the 100-mile-an-hour class is Claire Kurz behind the steering wheel. Matthew Kurz sits to his right, a 2016 Corvette.
Claire from Palmer, Nebraska. Says here that Claire's a retired farmer from Palmer.
I like those maroon Corvettes with the chrome wheels. Those are gorgeous cars. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and thank you to our video sponsors. You see them scrolling on your screen if you're watching the video broadcast. As off on the course heads Claire Kurz and Matthew Kurz. Thank you to Four County Boutique, Anderson Auto Tech, First State Insurance, Mills Hardware, A1 Auto Repair, Lines Appliance, Nebraska State Bank, Trotter Service, BD Broken Bow, Cobblestone Inn and Suites, Power Solutions, Broken Bow Legends Neighborhood Grill, Grazer's Bar and Grill, J.R. Meyer Insurance, Callaway Market, Agribest Feeds, CarQuest Broken Bow, Aero Aviation, Rods Body and Paint, Muddy Creek Auto, and Myers Construction for sponsoring video coverage of the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge.
Michael Gross participating in the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge for the second year. Michael from Omaha, Nebraska.
Jim Imbrock is going to be his navigator in their 2006 Mustang. All black. You can tell it's had some suspension work. It's sitting nice and low to the ground. And off they run, and that brings us our last car of the 100-mile-an-hour class. Levi Durnall and Michael Durnall in a 2019 Chevy Corvette. It's all gray with some chrome splashed in some different places.
A father-son team that before 2016 had never undertaken an event such as this. They said they were anticipating a great experience and it exceeded their expectations. So I think you can see why they are back here in 2022.
Our next class is going to be the 120-mile-an-hour class. 10 entries in that class. And as we look forward later on, we're going to have the 120 Extreme class, the 115, the 110, and the 105 to round out our day. Again, couldn't ask for more beautiful weather. What an amazing morning it has been so far. A little bit of a breeze, but just enough to keep you cool. There's a few people in jeans and long sleeve shirts, and they look comfortable, as do the people in shorts and t-shirts. Optimal weather here at the start line. Levi and Michael are off on the course, and that rolls forward our next group. Now they're going to have a tech speed, which is their maximum speed that they can reach, 5 miles an hour faster than the 100-mile-an-hour class. Tech speed of 145, target average speed of 120 miles an hour to get those perfect times.
And as we get you ready for the 120-mile-an-hour class, Ted Hughes will be the first to go off in that mile-per-hour class. And as we look at last year's results, it was Ted who was the champion of the 120-mile-an-hour class last year. Ted Hughes, along with David James, posting a time of .032 seconds below perfect. Ted has made a lot of runs here at this Sandhills Open Road Challenge and trying to see if he can duplicate the success that he's certainly had last year and in past years here in this event.
Well, the cone still sits in front of him, and we don't have anyone over by the starting line at the moment. Let's take a quick 30-second timeout before bringing it right back here to Arnold.
The Smoke Shack in Broken Bow is the only place in Custer.
In this class, average speed that they are shooting for is 120 miles an hour. Their maximum speed they can travel is 145 miles an hour. Quick, rough math, and I am not in the avenue of math, but basically if you go into a corner and get down to, let's say, 90 miles an hour, that's 30 miles an hour slower than what you are supposed to average. So you're going to have to get up to that 145 mile an hour mark for a while in order to even that out. So those turns have got to be taken as quickly as possible, and those straightaways have got to average out about how slowly you go through those turns. You take all that into account and add in the fact that you have to pay attention to what you're doing and listen to your navigator, or sometimes navigate yourself, to get within 10 seconds is amazing. To get within half a second, like most of these winning drivers are going to do, is just amazing.
Yes, takes a lot of skill to be able to do that, and really is amazing at some of the times and speeds and everything that these drivers put together.
Well, it looks like the cone has been moved out from in front of car number 12. Again, if you're listening on the radio and you're not driving down the road yourself, I invite you to find a screen in order to check out the live stream on the Sandhills Express YouTube or Facebook pages. And give us a follow while you're there. We'd appreciate that. Lots of Corvettes here in a row. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Corvettes and then a Camaro after that. And then we go right back to another Corvette. In fact, there's only 1, 2, 3, 5 cars out of the 10 that are something other than a Corvette. So a Corvette heavy class here as we get going with Ted Hughes. No navigator for Ted. He's in a blue 2019 Chevy Corvette. 16 county Nebraska plates on that blue Corvette.
As we mentioned earlier, Ted, the defending champion in this mile-per-hour class. Ted out of Seward, Nebraska. And there he goes as we are off and running in the 120-mile-an-hour speed class.
Car number 3 up next. I see that SORC Lifer sticker. That means a familiar name is inside. Brian Chandler is the driver. The navigator is Shane Cool, a 2009 Chevy Corvette. It is silver in color.
Brian out of Scottsbluff, Nebraska, coming back to the Sandhills Open Road Challenge this year.
And 10 cars here in this class. Now they do have a faster tech speed, so a little bit more time is put in between these cars to allow the car previous to them to get down the track. They get the 10-second signal, and they'll be headed out on the course here in no time at all. And there they go. That brings up possibly the loudest Corvette that we've heard here in the starting line so far today. David Smith is going to be driving it. Joe Bob Atkins will be the navigator. This is a 2017 Chevy Corvette. It's had some work done to the engine. I can smell it from here. Beautiful all white with some red accents and black wheels.
Dave out of Gothenburg, Nebraska, getting ready to take off on the course this year.
Coming up on 10 seconds to go before they head out on the course. A lot of these drivers are reminded to shut that visor on their helmet before they head out on the course. A lot of different things have to happen. They got to shut their visors. They got to have their windows rolled up if they do have windows. These higher tech and target speed classes, more requirements are put out as far as having a fire extinguisher in the car, having a roll cage rather than a roll bar installed in the car. Certain types of ratings of tires need to be used. All leading into being able to go faster and average a faster speed. As Sean Smetter and Mike Spencer come to the line next, car number 27. This is an orange 2019 Chevy ZR1 Corvette.
Sean, another one of our many competitors coming out of Lincoln, Nebraska to participate today.
Car 27 gets its RPMs up there a little bit. They let off the brake and they take off. Car number 97 is up next. And just like that, we're halfway through the 120-mile-an-hour class. A.J. Meadows is going to be the driver. Lindy Daly is going to be the navigator, a 1999 Chevy Corvette.
A.J. Meadows, another one of our Texas competitors. Hometown listed as Stanton, Texas. And his bio is really simple. Love this race. Thanks to everybody who helps put it on. Simple as that.
Short and sweet. Again, we're going to have 5 more cars after AJ before we round out the 120-mile-an-hour class on a beautiful day here at the starting line. Arnold, Nebraska. Glad to have you folks along, whether you're listening or watching. Thank you so much for checking out these beautiful cars that these folks put a lot of time and money and effort into. Not only putting them together, but learning how to drive them at peak performance ways. Up next, car 187, Dustin Sabatka and Todd Schneider, a 1996 Z28 Camaro.
Dustin from Valparaiso, Nebraska. Been a part of SORC since 2007. Always looks forward to returning to Arnold every year because of the people, the atmosphere, and of course, the racing.
I think Sheriff Osmond over there has his eyes on these cars like, ah, man. You think it just pains him to see cars go fast on a road in his county?
Probably more relaxing. He doesn't have to worry about going to chase him down.
That is true. Car 282 up next, Matt Donfer. No navigator with Matt today, a 2007 Chevy Corvette. Red in color, chrome wheels, white numerals on the side.
Matt, another one of our many Texas competitors, coming up to join us here in Arnold, Nebraska. Matthew from Midland, Texas.
Welcome to Nebraska, Matthew. Good crowd on hand. Got to mention that. They've got the stands off to our left rather than our right this year, kind of right in line with the starting line. In past years, the stands haven't filled up as much because they were kind of behind the starting line a little bit. Few people bring their own chairs to enjoy everything. Few people just kind of stand and take pictures of the car along the side. But everyone looks comfortable and looks like they're enjoying themselves on a beautiful day here in Arnold. Doug Jones up next behind the steering wheel. In the passenger and navigator seat is Daniel Jones, an all blue 5.0 liter Ford Mustang.
Doug from Ipswich, South Dakota, farms and runs a small trucking operation. Doug competed in the 120-mile-an-hour class a year ago, finished 6th in the event. They'll see if they can improve on that here in 2022 as they get ready to take off on the opening leg of today's race.
And again, they are the third to last car in this group. 2 more cars, the 36 of Jason Walsh and Chris Rutten and the 47 of Ray Bernard and Pierce Bernard will round out the 120-mile-an-hour class. Boy, Doug Jones really had a quiet car sitting at the starting line, but then it really got loud quick. Up next, our next NASCAR, a 1998 NASCAR to be exact. Jason Walsh and Chris Rutten up next. It's got M&Ms on the side.
There you go.
You an M&M fan?
I've never turned any down.
That's a good way to put it. I've never said no to them. All yellow car there with the M&Ms on the side and the front bumper. One of those situations where they don't have a window they can roll up, so they've got to have that mesh net alongside the driver and passenger. And they're going to be taking off here shortly, and everyone next to the starting line is kind of plugging their ears. Oh yeah, he's having trouble keeping those tires hooked in on the road, and now he's up and over that first hill and on the track. And that brings us our last car of the 120-mile-an-hour class. Another familiar name to the Sandhills Open Road Challenge races, Ray Bernard. Pierce Bernard is navigating for him in the 1973 Camaro.
Back for year number 16 at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. They always enjoy making the trek every year back to Arnold to have fun. Ray Bernard from Casper, Wyoming.
The sun keeps rising up and is no longer in our faces, but it's coming right down on our heads and necks now. The breeze cools us off just as the sun warms us up. Off go Ray and Pierce to finish out this 120-mile-an-hour class. Now we have a 2-entry class, the 120 Extreme class. Now these Extreme classes are more about, well, they're about averaging a speed, but it comes down to your time in a different way because you're just trying to finish the quickest. The target speed is 120 miles an hour and the tech speed is 120. So basically you go as quick as you can without going over 120 miles an hour. That's your setup for this 2-entry class of the 120 Extreme mile an hour. Daniel Whipple will get us kicked off in car 26 with Mike Ray. This is a kind of a electric blue 2014 Nissan GTR.
Couple of competitors were in this class a year ago. AJ and Kendra Meadows ended up winning it in a 1999 Chevy Corvette.
There goes that GTR. Believe it or not, that's a twin-turbo V6 out of the factory. Doesn't even have 8 cylinders, and it gets up and goes that fast. Car 67, our second and last car of the Extreme 120-mile-an-hour class. Todd Gransky and Dylan Gransky in this car. A 2020 Ford Mustang, kind of a deep red color.
Todd, another one of our state of Nebraska drivers, coming from Utica, Nebraska to be here today.
Thank you again to the official sponsors of SORC. Many of these have been sponsors for a long, long time. Pinnacle Bank, one of the main sponsors of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge each year. Thank you as well to Viera Wireless. They're bringing us our connection for the video live stream today. DeKalb and Asgrow, Optima Batteries, Blueprint Engines, 444 Racing, South Loop Seed, Hornady, and Great Plains Communications, all bringing you the Sandhills Open Road activities again this year. Car 112 is next. The cone is out in front of it, but this will be the start of the 115-mile-an-hour class sitting in front of us. Their target speed is 115 miles an hour, obviously. Their tech speed is 145. Jared Helge and Matt Helge are driving the car 112 in front of us.
Jared from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And looking at last year's results, Jared was the winner of this mile-per-hour class from a year ago. His time was 0.032 seconds off perfect. Whew. Impressive. He'll try to put another impressive run and see if he can defend the title in this mile-per-hour class in 2022.
In most of these classes, chances are if you are more than a tenth of a second off, you're in trouble. You got to go into that hundredths category in order to have a shot.
Well, we said at the beginning, you know, we talk a lot about just the fun and the enjoyment of this event, but it's a competitive event too. Don't ever underestimate that. These drivers come here wanting to win, and it really is impressive at some of the times and speeds that they're able to put down.
Yeah, and you know, the cool thing is when they're done racing and they're going to the banquet or they're going and receiving their awards, you know, a lot of smiles, lots of congratulations and things like that, but maybe a friendly jab thrown at one another every now and then too. And some questions of, hey, can you share me your race notes? What changes did you make in order to get that time? I know a lot of these folks might put those in their safety deposit box back home when they get there, because they spend years honing them and figuring out every turn and how to go in and out of everything and what speeds they need to be going at what points. Cone is still out and doesn't look like they're going to make a movement towards moving that to get us underway here in the 115-mile-an-hour class. So let's take a quick 30-second timeout and we'll come back after that here in Arnold.
When you need towing or transport, it often comes at a...
Arnold, you're listening and watching the 2022 Sandhills Open Road Challenge. I'm Jeremy Scheib. He's Brent Apperson. We've got Grant Winterer running some video equipment down below us. Can you still hear me, Grant? All right, doing great down there. Emily's behind me. Doing good, Emily? All right, she's doing good. And Kristen, I can't yell to her. She's about 100 feet to my left up in the stands, and she's running a camera as well. Thank you so much to all the sponsors that made it possible for all 5 of us to be here this morning, bringing you radio and video coverage. It's been fun.
And quickly, we can let you know that everybody in the 100-mile-per-hour class did arrive safely at the other end.
Here we go in the 115-mile-an-hour class. Jared Helge and Matt Helge get us started in their 09 Chevy Corvette. And now, is this our first Dodge Viper of the day?
Could be.
It almost feels like it is. This is a 2014 Dodge Viper. It's yellow in color. Ryan Firstenau and Rich Clements in this great-looking car.
Well, Ryan was second in this mile-per-hour class a year ago. Ryan from Neely, Nebraska.
All yellow. Got a big spoiler on the back of it. Black racing stripes going down the middle, matching on the spoiler and the trunk and the hood. Exhaust out the side. And a green light to race. Off they go. Car 667 up next. Gary Bates is going to be the driver. Jack Jones, the navigator, a 2018 Chevy Camaro. It's white in color, black spoiler and wheels, and also a red caliper inside the wheels, making sure the stopping and slowing down goes well.
And again, going back to last year's results, Gary participated in this 115 mile per hour class last year, came in 4th overall.
They are the third car of 5 here in the 115 mile an hour class. Looking ahead, we've got a couple of pretty decently sized classes coming up. The 110 mile an hour class holds 12 cars. And then the 105 mile an hour class holds 14 cars, and that will round out the Sandhills Open Road Challenge racing. So we're approaching maybe about less than 30 cars to go here. Car number 20 up next, Tommy Dale Vines. Marcia Graves is the navigator. 2007 Chevy Corvette, black in color. Again, target average speed 115 miles an hour, tech speed or maximum speed 145.
Tommy, one of the veterans here at this Sandhills Open Road Challenge. We've read his name off many times when it comes to competing in this event. Tommy from Eagle Butte, South Dakota.
Cars still stretched all the way back into Arnold. Many of these folks will hang around for a little bit and round out the rest of the weekend. Some of them, you still see these cars driving around as far into next week. There goes car number 20, Tommy Dale Vines, out on the track. And that brings to us our 5th and final car of the 115 mile an hour class. This is a 2019 Chevy Corvette. Mark Kappner and Scott Kappner in this vehicle. Mark has gone faster than anyone at the shootout on the Cozad Callaway Road. Had that 230 plus mile an hour run a couple years ago.
And you were there to witness that live, right?
Yes. It was not in this Corvette. It was in his Lamborghini, which I haven't seen in the last couple of years. I'd love to see that Lamborghini again. I can tell you that. It just is breathtaking.
I'm guessing there were a few oohs and ahs when he came across the line.
That there
with
were.
That speed. And as Mark takes off, don't know if we've let you know yet, but Mark comes to us from Idaho. Idaho Falls, Idaho is Mark's hometown.
The 110 mile an hour class is going to be up next. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we just roll straight into this class because their target speed is obviously lower than the 115 mile an hour target speed previous. Lots of rumbling engines out there now as we get ready to continue with our final 2 classes of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. 26 cars left on the schedule for us.
And this is 110 miles an hour, right, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Eric Schmidt, who's going to lead us off, is your defending champion. Eric Schmidt and Chris Garner in a 1989 Chevy Corvette, winning the 110 mile per hour class a year ago. Their time off perfect was .368 seconds.
Coming up next is car 529. Gunmetal gray car driven by Chad Christensen. Aaron Wells, the navigator, a 2011 Chevy Corvette. It's actually listed as blue. It's an interesting blue. It's gray when you look at it in one way, and it's blue when you look at it another.
Chad's another one of our many Nebraska drivers participating in the event this year. Chad from Maroka, Nebraska. Always fun to read some of the bios and the information that people put in the program. Chad says, quote, if you are reading this, then they let us back in for another year of racing. Yes, they did, Chad. Great to have you back here again.
And he gets the green light and heads out on the course. Car number 6 comes up. It's the source of that noise that you've been hearing here recently. It's got an emblem and a sticker up on the front left fender that says races run, and it's got a number 52 in it. So this car's been through a lot of races. It's the number 6 of Chris Kuczynski, a 1977 Ford Cobra.
Well, we'll let you watch and listen Chris take off, and then kind of a neat story about Chris to share with you, as this is his 13th running in the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge.
10 seconds out from Chris taking off. Brent Culp and Heidi Culp will await next.
And as Chris takes off, you know, we talk about how people love the community of Arnold when they come to participate in this event. Well, for Chris, he loved it so much that he moved here in June of 2019.
Wow, very cool. Here comes the 2001 Chevy Corvette. Burgundy in color. Brent Culp and Heidi Culp, our 4th car of the 110-mile-an-hour class.
Brent and Heidi make their home right here in Arnold, Nebraska. In fact, it's just down this very same road a little ways. I know that they entertain a lot of the competitors that come and participate here at the Sand Hills Open Road Challenge, and now they participate as well. So best of luck to Brent and Heidi as they get ready to take off.
Car 289 up to the starting line next. Aaron Anderson will be driving. Kendra Anderson will be the navigator. 2017 Ford Mustang, blue in color.
Aaron Anderson competing in the 120-mile-an-hour class a year ago, where they finished 3rd in the event. Aaron out of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right in front of us, Brent, I got to give a shout out to Brad Wheelhouse. He's the navigator in that 1994 Mazda Miata. We've interacted online through Twitter a little bit over the years that I've been helping out with the SORC, and finally got to meet Brad yesterday at the shootout site. I would wave, but I wouldn't be able to see him wave back. The windows on that car are tinted so deep, so I can't tell if they're listening or if they're focusing on the driving right now, but wanted to make sure to give him a shout out on the radio and video. Car 285 up next, Tom Sorrells and Jeremy Riley, our 6th car in the 110-mile-an-hour class, a 2010 Dodge Viper.
Tom from Odessa, Texas, and he says this is by far the best and most challenging race event on the open road race circuit. It's a highlight of the season for them, as they always look forward to the festivities, the food, the fun, and then I like this, the pies and ice cream.
Oh, yes. Those are always a big plus of any event. Cool looking red and black Viper, black on the sides, red on the top and the center and on the wheels as they get a green light. Car 924, that Mazda Miata that I mentioned, Dustin Gronseth and Brad Wheelhouse. It's gray, it's got a big spoiler on it. Smaller car, which obviously means when that power of the engine kicks in, it's going to get moving quick.
Well, it doesn't seem like all that long ago we sent off all of the competitors in the 120-mile-an-hour class. Well, they have all made it safely to the other end.
That was fast.
Yes.
That is the goal, is speed. Again, we're about halfway through the 110 mile an hour class. That will leave us with the 105 mile an hour class. And then that'll be it for SORC 2022, at least here from the starting line. Again, more coverage coming to you on 95.3 KBBN. On the other end of things, Dave and Joan are going to have some interviews that they'll pass along to you with the drivers, some of them sitting in their cars. Dave's even been known to get a couple of interviews while the drivers have their helmets on, and they were always so nice to take the time to speak a few words with Dave. Car 315 up next. This is Kevin Miller driving. Bruce Osborne is the navigator. 8th car out of 12 in this 110 mile an hour course. It's a red Mustang.
Kevin, another one of our competitors from the state of Colorado, calls Littleton, Colorado his home.
Gets the 10-second countdown indication. And now off and running with the green light. Joe Shone up next. Joe's got Bob Mann sitting next to him. You talk about names of folks that have put a lot of time and effort and, well, time and effort. Blood, sweat, and tears as well into getting the SORC started from the very beginning, and Joe is one of those guys. Here he is in his 2011 blue Corvette.
Now, it's always been fun in years past to read the bio of Joe because he has a very elaborate bio that he posts, but this year he simply says this: upon the advice of counsel, I assert my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution to not incriminate myself. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. You know, there was one time Joe's bio was like a front and back page. I think somebody actually either emailed it to me or messaged it to me on social media ahead of the race because it wouldn't fit in the book. That's much shorter, and Joe is out flying along the course again. Car 747 up next. This is Casey Richards. William Mischnick is the navigator, a 2015 Audi SE.
Bill coming to us from Omaha, Nebraska. And we can let you know that the 120 mile an hour extreme class is in and has made it safely to the other end of the course. Also a chance to remind you that our radio coverage, as Jeremy's been mentioning, will continue through the course of the afternoon as Dave and Joan Burney, along with Oliver Burney over at the other end, will be keeping you updated as the participants make their return trip from Dunning back here to Arnold.
Car number 650 up next, our second to last car of the 110 mile an hour class. Jared Roberts and Jason Clinton in a 2015 Chevy Corvette.
Jared from Gretna, Nebraska, a third-generation Nebraskan. 10th Sandhills Open Road Challenge, and the race is certainly what he considers to be one of the highlights of his year.
Kind of looking at a couple of comments on our videos. Had a comment asking how many Vipers there have been. If I had to guess, I think there have been 3 Vipers that have gone out on the course. That's just a stab in the dark, though. A couple of thank yous to the sponsors. Yes, we very much appreciate our sponsors. Couple of cheers out to car number 3, car number 114, car 279, all in the comments, either on YouTube or on Facebook. I think between those two avenues we have well over 100 people watching this morning, so thank you very much for tuning in. Car 787 coming up next, Kevin Wiesbeck and Mike Sayer, a 2019 Chevy Corvette. It's a beautiful maroon color, lots of dark colors on that car.
Kevin from Aberdeen, South Dakota. And just going off memory, I want to say that Kevin was posting some awfully fast speeds yesterday in the shootout event.
You're right, that was a maroon Corvette, and I think Kevin was in one of those. Again, this is the last car of the 110-mile-an-hour class. The cone went out for a little bit, but now they pull it to the side, and he'll be headed out on the track shortly. The 105-mile-an-hour class is next. That means we're 14 cars away from being done with sending out the first half of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Of course, they've got a course that returns them, which is basically the course flipped around. So always adds new challenges. What were right turns are now left turns. Again, on behalf of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge Committee, who we have to thank as well, thank you very much to them for trusting us to pass this along to you folks that are watching and listening. Dave started by doing some radio reports and interviews 22 years ago, and we've been back each year. There goes Kevin and Mike, the last car of the 110-mile-an-hour class. Thank you as well to the folks that are the official sponsors of SORC. They always ask us to thank these sponsors plenty of times through our broadcast. They include Viera Wireless, Pinnacle Bank, DeKalb and Asgrow, Optima Batteries, Blueprint Engines, 444 Racing, South Loop Seed with Pioneer, Hornady, and Great Plains Communications. The 105-mile-an-hour class is up next, our final class of SORC 2022.
And I believe our first competitors in it will be the defending champs of this mile-per-hour class. Mike Black posting a time of .021 off perfect in their run last year to win the 105-mile-an-hour class, and they will lead us off here in 2022 as they are off and running.
And again, we're going to be starting right away, as you heard Brett say there, because this class is slower than the one previous to it. Michael Rasmussen up next. Jared Casey is Michael's navigator, car 383. Cool looking 1995 BMW. It's quiet now, but it's going to make plenty of noise here in a moment.
Michael Rasmussen out of Plattsmouth, Nebraska. He was second in the 105-mile-per-hour class a year ago.
Ten seconds out from Michael heading out on the track. A track that is normally utilized as a road for common cars like you and myself drive becomes a road track once a year for the past 22 years. Car number 10 is up next. Jeff Preston and Rochelle Preston, a 2018 Ford Mustang GT. This is gray in color.
Another local boy, Jeff out of Arnold, Nebraska, getting ready to participate in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Jeff, Arnold native, longtime SORC participant. Jeff, a local farmer here in the area and business owner. Again, we want to continue to say thanks to all of the businesses who are supporting our coverage again this year. Those businesses you've been listening to on our radio broadcast, we say thank you. And the businesses you've been seeing flash across your screen, if you're watching the video stream, we send out a big thank you to them once again this year as well.
There goes car number 10. Jeff Preston and Rochelle Preston out on the course. Car number 4 in this 105-mile-an-hour class headed out on the course next. Leroy Uhrig and Chandra Gronseth, 2008 Shelby Mustang GT 500.
Leroy out of South Dakota, making the journey here to participate in the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. Beautiful white car, blue stripes down the middle.
And they're a little bit more than 10 seconds away from heading out on the course. As we start to talk a little bit louder because the 65 of Nick Ekberg and Lyle Ekberg is sitting right in front of us. Always a crowd favorite, that 65 Mustang. You have to choose your words carefully, like when you start speaking sentences. Car 133 up next, Joe Wolf and Liz France in a 2016 Chevy Corvette. Black in color, our 5th car of the 105-mile-an-hour class, with that gorgeous 95.3 KBBN logo right above the back left tire.
There you go. And Joe, another participant out of the state of South Dakota.
About 20 seconds out from Joe heading out on the course. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in today. Really happy to have you along. We've been blessed with beautiful weather. Last year, you might remember, we had fog, and that delayed us, what, about 40 minutes or so?
Yeah, I'm going to guess that was probably it, yeah.
A pretty thick fog that came down here in town and out in the low spots along the course. No fog today. Really nice, beautiful day as the heat does start to come up a little bit. Car number 65 up next. This is Nick Ekberg and Lyle Ekberg.
Yeah, they're from Wakefield, Nebraska. 22nd year, and every year they've been in that blue Corvette. See a lot of people with their cameras out getting a picture, and I'm guessing some video and sound from the Ekbergs as they get ready to head out on the opening leg of their race today.
Well, and sound is all that you folks are going to hear as well, because there's no point in me trying to talk over it. So here we go. There goes Nick and Lyle out on the track, and that brings to the line car number 107, Terry Pollard and Gary Halstead. A 2013 Chevy Corvette, red in color, chrome wheels, but it's red everywhere else.
Terry from Wichita, Kansas. Of course, Gary lives right here in Arnold, Nebraska. Longtime teacher and coach is Gary. Terry Pollard of Wichita, Kansas, getting ready to make his run here at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. 8th year. Racing at SORC and also did the loop-to-loop as well.
Just a few seconds away from them taking off. That brings us to car 500. This is a 1970 Plymouth Cuda. Logan Huff and John Huff are the two individuals inside of this car. Our 9th car of the 105-mile-an-hour class.
John of Casper, Wyoming says SORC is always the highlight of the summer for them. People are great, the racing is great, the food is great. I'd say they have a great time when they come and visit.
Nice looking Cuda, all gray, black stripe down the side, black numerals for the number on the side, and black wheels. About 10 seconds away from heading out on the course. As we get close to the finishing of SORC 2022, in fact, Landon Lohman is going to be the last car out this year, and he's just finishing his tech inspection, so we're getting pretty close. Car 206 is up next. Derek Lucan and John Lucan. 2003 Chevy Corvette. It is a sky blue in color. A dark sky blue at that. Today's sky is a light blue.
Well, as Derek comes to the starting line, it's his 4th year with the Sandhills Open Road Challenge. 2nd year as driver, it says. Derek grew up in the gearhead lifestyle, tinkering in the garage, watching his dad drag race for several years, and bench racing with several of his dad's fellow gearhead buddies over the years. Now Derek behind the wheel comes to us from Omaha, Nebraska.
And there he goes. Car 212, our third to last car today. Greg Erlidson and Chris Cudmore, a 2016 Ford Mustang. All white, big spoiler on the back, black wheels with a few black accents.
Greg from Rapid City, South Dakota, a lawyer from Rapid City. Third year at the Sandhills Open Road Challenge.
Well, it's weird to look back and see no cars behind where we're at right now, but that is the situation that we're in. 3 cars sitting in, or behind, I should say, the starting line, and that's about to be 2 as Greg and Chris take off on the course. And off they go. That brings us car 2, 3, 4. Beautiful maroon 1999 Chevy Corvette. Brian Mislanka is going to be driving it. Kathy Sass is the navigator.
Brian, another one of our many drivers really from the state capital participating in the activities this week. Brian from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Two Corvettes to round things out here for SORC 2022. Been great having you folks along, whether you're listening on the radio or video. Now, if you are wanting to keep tabs on some of these drivers, but you're watching the video, that is going to end after this starting series of cars. But anywhere in the world that you have internet access, you can listen to Dave's turnaround point coverage on kbbn.com or on the free KBBN app. He'll have some driver interviews and kind of inform you on what cars are heading out on the course and when. Well, here we go, Brett. Landon Lohman, the last car of SORC 2022, a red 2012 Chevy Corvette to round out the 105-mile-an-hour class.
Lanny comes to us from Henderson, Nevada. It says 76 years young and live in Henderson, Nevada. Behind the wheel, ready to go out on the Sandhills Open Road Challenge to conclude things here on the opening leg of this competition.
And there he goes. And the cone comes out for the last time on the starting line. They're going to break down the starting light equipment, and they're going to move some other items over there. I think they move the sponsor flags and everything to the other side before they turn around and come back this direction. As far as our video and radio broadcast from this end, we are officially wrapped up for the year 2022. But as I said, continue to listen to Dave on the other end. Before we end our broadcast, we want to thank our wonderful sponsors that allowed us to be here on radio and video. Our radio sponsors all throughout all 3 days of racing and continuing on today include the Smoke Shack, First State Insurance, Reed's Food Center, Mills Hardware, Wenquist Incorporated, A1 Auto Repair, Shotgun Annie Saloon and Grill, BD Broken Bow, Fixed Right Auto Body, Grazer's Bar and Grill, Trumbull Repair and Towing, the Callaway District Hospital with the Arnold and Callaway Medical Clinics, John Farley at Lashley Land and Recreational Brokers, and Trotter Service. Our video broadcast sponsors you've been seeing on the screen throughout our broadcast the last 3 days. Today they include Four County Boutique, Anderson Auto Tech, First State Insurance, Mills Hardware, A1 Auto Repair, Lines Appliance, Nebraska State Bank, Trotter Service, BD Broken Bow, Cobblestone Inn and Suites, Power Solutions, Broken Bow Legends Neighborhood Grill, J.R. Meyer Insurance, Callaway Market, Grazer's Bar and Grill, Agribest Feeds, CarQuest Broken Bow, Aero Aviation, Ron's Body and Paint, Muddy Creek Auto, and Myers Construction. Final thoughts, Brent?
Well, what a great smooth start to the race. And really, you think back even to the loop-to-loop race and to the half-mile and 1 mile shootout. Everything has gone so smooth up to this point. So now we just got one leg left to complete, and we will trust that that goes smoothly as well. But what a great event it has been for 2022, and can't wait to see the cars come back through. And later on tonight at the Arnold City Park, they will announce the winners, and we'll find out who are champions here of the Sandhills Open Road Challenge activities for this year.
Well, it's been another great year, and again, folks, make sure you tune in to the second half of our coverage today from the other end of the course with David J. Burney and Joan Burney and Oliver Burney. So make sure to tune in on 95.3 FM here in central Nebraska, as well as kbbn.com and the free KBBN app. For all of our sponsors, for our camera ladies, Kristen Shirley and Emily Barnett, for Grant Winterer, our video producer, and from your announcers, he's Brent Apperson, I'm Jeremy Scheib. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of our SORC 2022 coverage. That does it for us. We'll send it back to Jeff in the studio. He's got some great interviews and some more ads from our wonderful sponsors to play for you folks.